Thank you. Last night, thousands of you joined me to talk about the suspect and how to label him. There's no doubt that he terrorized the city of Austin, but does that make him a terrorist? More than 300 of you have left comments. Vaughn said, "Terrorist is a terrorist no matter what reason. Anyone who attempts to murder or hurt someone should be treated the same as a terrorist." Profilers say the Austin bomber more closely fits the definition of what's known as an identity bomber rather than a terrorist. So we talked to expert Craig Gundry. He is a U.S. Army veteran with more than 17 years of anti-terrorism experience. He wrote Bomb Countermeasures for Security Professionals, and he's the Vice President of Special Projects for Critical Intervention Services here in Tampa Bay.
And some of the characteristics of that identity bomber as opposed to a terrorist bomber is their motive is generally personal in nature. It is not being just fueled in order to advance an ideological cause of some type.
Identity bombers can be terrorists. I guess, are all?
One of the key defining characteristics of an identity bomber is the drawing of attention to themselves personally. It is often fueled by this narcissistic personality at its core, as where, although we do have lone terrorists that share similar traits in some cases, their primary motive would be the ideological advancement of their cause.
Okay, so that's the major difference here.
Yes.
It's either about me or the cause.
Exactly.
So, Phil, we talked about this last night with viewers. Why the use of that term, which is a legal term, terrorist, often has less to do with what happened and more to do with proving the why behind it when it gets to court, if it gets to court.
Right, of course. I mean, it really makes that difference when it comes to the prosecution. If you can prove terrorist activity under the federal definition, which again, has to have that ideological component, then you can bring maybe certain special charges. But as you just said, that also raises the bar in terms of what you have to prove in court. But since the suspect in this case is dead, it really doesn't matter what we call it. I mean, certainly the people who live in Austin, it felt like terrorism to them.
Sure.
And that experience is valid. So of course, they're free to call it terrorism, and they'd be right in doing so.
Yeah, many of them did. So just to be clear, this is not about race. It doesn't appear so.
No.
You've checked into this, right?
And I know this is something you're seeing on your social media as well. A lot of people are saying, if he were a Muslim, we'd be calling him a terrorist.
Not true.
No, the difference here, as we just said, is the ideological component. We heard the police chief say that in that 25-minute video confession that he left behind, he did not find any ideological or hateful motives. Now, had he been professing, white supremacy or Islam, this would be a much different story, but that's not the case.
Yeah, the ideology and the motive, very important there. All right, Phil, thank you.